There is no central. In 2011, somebody took it down. Morning, for watching. Bitcoin is very peaceful.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Real Bitcoin's here to stay, and you need to be a part of it.
Theft. It happens to you every single day. Imagine that. You're being stolen from when you sleep, when you're sitting here watching this YouTube video, when you're going to work, when you pay your taxes, when you pay your mortgage, you're being stolen from. And you're like, how is this possible? Are you just talking nonsense? And some of you feel, yeah, it's happening, but you don't understand why or how. I'm going to explain how this is happening to you and why you have to own Bitcoin and why Bitcoin will be the money of the future. Today, money is being created like crazy. We all know this. We've heard the memes, money printer go brrr over and over again. So you know that money is being created. You don't understand how, you don't understand why, you just know that it's happening. Well, it's happening when your government actually goes into debt, when your municipality goes into debt, when your local or state government goes into debt. Money gets created when anyone, in fact, goes into debt. If you decide to go and buy a house, you've created money. If you decide to go buy a car, you've created money. If you went to the bank to actually borrow the money to buy the house or the car, which most people do. Money comes out only from debt. But the crazy thing is, the insane insanity is that only the principal is created, not the interest. Now you're thinking, okay, so what does that mean? Well, if only the principal is created, how are you going to get the interest to pay it back? Well, that's simple. Somebody else must go into debt. That's the only way the money that you owe plus interest can come into existence. So, to clarify that a little bit better, imagine you're on an island and there's no money. And somebody says, hey, I'm going to print some money so you can buy something. And you go, okay, what's the terms? And they say, well, you're going to have to pay me $110. If you borrow $100, you're going to have to pay me $110 next month. You go, no problem, not thinking about it. And then he creates the $100. And then you think, great, there's only $100 on an island. Because there was no money before, and now there's $100. Where's that extra $10 going to come from that I owe to the banker? Well, it's quite simple. Somebody else has to go into debt in order to pay it back. So effectively, there has to be more debt in the system than there is money at all times. And this is why the governments are constantly borrowing more and more money to spend on the economy, because if they don't, the whole system collapses in on itself with a bunch of defaults. This cannot go on forever because we all know that exponential growth, meaning that we have to grow the debt exponentially, nonstop, or else the money just collapses in on itself. We have to grow the debt nonstop exponentially, and nothing can grow exponentially because eventually the numbers get too high. And this is where we at with our finances. Now, we're moving back to the theft. So, right now, most people who borrow money to buy stuff has to pay high interest, extremely high interest. But that means you have to pay back extra money, more money than the average rich person can do. For example, Michael Saylor borrows at 0% interest rate. That means he prints money at 0% interest rate and buys Bitcoin. And a lot of other wealthy people can do the exact same thing, but you can't. And that is a means of theft because they get to get the money free. You don't. They get to spend the money first, which causes prices to go up higher. And they have no consequence with the prices going up higher. Why is that? Well, because they're getting a lot of money. And two, well, they can print more. So it doesn't really matter. This is a horrifying effect of our financial system because why? You're working for it. Oh, and it gets worse. Yes, it does. It does a whole lot worse. Well, most of you, when you go and borrow money, you borrow it in a responsible way, quote unquote, responsible way. You buy only what you can afford. And thus you only decide, okay, you know what, I know what the payments are, and I can handle that, and you don't go overboard. That's great. But unfortunately, when you go out and borrow money to purchase something like a house or a car, that's the worst thing you can do to yourself. Why is that? Well, first off, you already know that the money gets printed out of nothing because you go and borrow it. You sign on the dotted line. Well, that person who you borrowed it from, which is the bank, gets a free slave, right? Because you didn't earn anything to get you the money. You didn't actually have to get other customers into the bank to get you the money. No. It just creates it right there and then. So, that effectively makes you the slave to the banker. And we're like, okay, well, that's all right. I can afford to pay it. Don't worry. I'll pay that 30-year mortgage, no problem. Oh, okay. But you're forgetting a few things, quite a few things. But I'm going to point out one of the major things you don't even realize. Most of you do understand that a mortgage, right, is front-loaded all the interest, meaning that you pay the most interest at the very beginning and the least at the very end. So when your mortgage is almost up in the last few years, you're putting the most amount of money to your principal. So you're thinking, yeah, that's okay, I can handle that, that's cool. Unfortunately, the value of your money today, the value of your work and effort today is worth more today than it is in the future. Think about that for a second. Now, you're like, what? I don't get it. It's worth more today than it is in the future? As human beings, we innovate. We create more and make things better. We improve. That means over time, your job, whatever you do, the value of that labor will go down because we slowly innovate. Now, you may not innovate in your sector. For example, you might say, well, Da Vinci, I'm a software developer, right? How are they going to innovate me away? They're always going to need a programmer. Yes, that might be the case for quite some time. However, as more and more people as you're a programmer and you create an application that eliminates jobs, right? Those people go and start finding new jobs and most likely to eliminate yours, to lower your, not to eliminate, but to lower your value at your job. So because now, hey, if I want a decent job, I gotta be a programmer. And so they study and become a programmer, and there's a saturation in the market of programmers. Not today, but in the future. So effectively, your wealth, even though you're thinking, well, you know what, my salary is always going up and I'm probably always gonna have this. Yes, you're thinking your salary is going up. Honestly, that is the case, but not as fast as inflation is. You know that the inflation was at 7.5%. Did you get a 7.5% raise last year? You probably didn't, right? So that's an example. Your work effort is dropping really fast. Your value of your work effort is dropping really fast in this current monetary system. And you don't even feel it, you don't even see it, because you're just getting the same number. Or maybe you're getting a little bit more. Maybe your boss gave you a whole 3% raise and you're like, yeah, I got that 3% raise. Yeah, but in reality, although they're telling you 7.5%, it's actually 20% the inflation rate. And you're losing even more. So this shows how your wealth, your value of your hard-earned wealth is going to go, is dropping over time. And this is why our current financial system has to end and be replaced with a fair and honest system. And that's Bitcoin. And this is why I'm so confident that Bitcoin will replace our current financial system. No more will this theft will occur to everyone that's going on right now once Bitcoin is money. And that's why I'm so excited when I see that more and more people coming into Bitcoin, more people understanding what Bitcoin is, more people understanding that Bitcoin is real money that cannot be inflated, they cannot produce more, and thus your value of your work effort will go up. And when you do save in Bitcoin, when you save the Bitcoin in your bank account or in your own wallet, it will go up in value. You can't say that about dollars because they get printed all the time. And this is why I say it at every single end of the video. Bitcoin's real, Bitcoin's here to stay, and you absolutely need to be a part of it. Thanks for watching.